Anthropic just released their most capable model yet, Opus 4.7. It crushes GPT 5.4, it beats Gemini 3.1. It's amazing at coding and agentic reasoning, but there's one massive problem. It sucks compared to Claude Mythos, which Anthropic previewed and announced just last week. So it begs the question, why is Anthropic holding back their best model? There's a number of different reasons. It's a cybersecurity risk, but this just seems like an intermediary step. But that hasn't stopped Anthropic at all. They've managed to release 4 new features this week, and secret IPO rumors are valuing it at an $850 billion valuation. Now, there's many other stories that we want to cover in this episode. A shoe company pivoted to become a GPU provider, which sent their stock up 850%. And the world's greatest trader, he's only 24 years old, Leopold Aschenbrenner, is back, and he's made about $2.5 billion this week. Not bad.
Before we get into all of that, let's start with the biggest news of the day, which is Opus 4.7. I mean, this is the release that everyone's been waiting for a long time, and it is better, good, not great. It is, you'll notice the language they used. It is their best Opus model, not their most capable model, because if you notice on these benchmarks, there is a model on the far right that they're comparing it to, which is Mythos. That is the private, secret, super powered model that is not going to be available for the public in the foreseeable future. So what we have today is Opus 4.7. It's better than Opus 4.6 as expected. It accelerates in a few key things, 5 to be specific. The first one is coding, which is obviously better gains on the hardest long horizon software tasks. So basically, if you have a task that runs for a very long period of time, it will be better at that than Opus 4.6. Vision is an interesting one. It can see 3 times better than Opus 4.6. So if you ever upload screenshots or documents or anything of that nature, it's going to be much better at understanding text or understanding details inside of these images. It's better at following instructions. It interprets instructions literally instead of figuratively, which we like. So if you tell it what to do, it will actually do the thing specifically how you ask. A lot of times people will ask, I don't know, something very specific and it doesn't quite understand that. It will do that now. Memory is much better. This is the one that I think is most interesting to me, is it's better at file system management and memory, which means if you close out of a chat and come back, it will have some sort of persistent memory. This is closer to what we realize with like agentic tasks or clauses that have full memory systems. And finally, it's really good at real world knowledge. It has state of the art financial information that it can access all the time. So if you are asking it about specific current up-to-date information, it should be much better at that. And that's mostly the large changes that are coming from it. I assume that a lot of the more subtle, nuanced changes will be things that you just feel as you engage with the model. I mean, Ijaz, we were both playing around with it before recording this episode and noticed there was a few things that are slightly different about this one.
Largely not what is different, but there's a lack of difference. So I asked it basically, hey, you're 4.7, what can you tell me is new and cool with what you can do versus 4.6? And its response immediately was, hey, I'm 4.7. I'm not exactly sure. There is no live announcement which details my comparison with 4.6, so I can't actually tell you how I'm better than my predecessor. So I was like, okay. Well, let's just assume you're good at long-term tasks, which is what you just explained, Josh, and is what Anthropic is claiming. I said, can you give me like a couple of prompts that I can run with you just to test that capability? And he said, sure. And he gave me this amazing prompt where it said, ask me to plan a 2-week itinerary to Japan and set all these like complicated criteria. So I did, I copied, I pasted it, and it gave me like a very, dare I say, ChatGPT 4.0-esque response with a bunch of emojis. It didn't sound anything meaningfully different from 4.6. So I think I need to use it a little bit more. I need to try out some different tasks. I do want to check out the visual reasoning because I have had issues with Claude specifically, not ChatGPT, where I would like put in like images or screenshots of like a paper or something that I don't really understand, and it sometimes struggles to read the actual thing. So I'm glad to see that. This is a stepping stone to the actual thing that people do want access to, which is Mythos. Their all-powerful model, which, is sending the world into a spiral right now. I feel like this is just like a version upgrade. And we're kind of like in a holding pattern until we get to the real thing. If we look back at the benchmarks here, this almost seems like chart crime, Josh. Like, why are we putting like the best model right on the right-hand side so that like maybe I don't like see how much better Mythos is compared to this? In its defense, I do notice that there are 3 things here that it is completely in its own realm. So if you look at scale tool use, Mythos doesn't really have that option or ability. If you look at financial analysts, so things like financial engineering, modeling, stuff like that, It is completely in a world of its own. It can beat Mythos at that. And then multilingual stuff as well. Now, that shouldn't come as a surprise because Mythos, as we've spoken about on previous episodes, is oriented around coding in particular, which has always been Anthropic's moat. And it's nice to see that we now have a generalized model. Like I'm going to be using 4.7 all the time now. It doesn't make sense for me to use 4.6. What does concern me, the final thing is, I don't know if Anthropic should be spending their time serving us up a slightly better model when they've been struggling on compute. One thing I've noticed when I booted up Opus 4.7 is it's kind of automatically toggled towards something called adaptive thinking, which a few other people have spotted online as well. What that means is it'll like think hard when it thinks it should think hard. Now, typically, if you're paying $20, $100, $200 for a particular plan, you kind of want the model to always be performing at its best, right? And like, you can kind of figure it out. But the fact that they're kind of like nerfing or throttling the model isn't really a good sign. And I wish they would just throw all that compute at Mythos and give us a better model.
I like the iterative nature. I like that my model that I use every day is better. It's nice that the pricing is the same. 4.6 is priced the same as 4.7 in terms of API use and in terms of just the general usage for the plans. It is interesting that their default is that adaptive token generation for answering with 4.7.
Yeah.
It seems as if they're just slightly nudging like, hey, if you use a little less tokens, it's probably fine. We'll let you know when you should use more. But I think one of the things I'm most excited about this is that financial modeling and planning. I think that's where there is a new spike that pops out of this model that hasn't really been done in previous models, where it has the financial analysis ability. You can talk to it about investments, you can get strategies, you can get up-to-date information. That's going to be a fun thing to play around with. I noticed the token generation was slower. It could just be because the model's new. They're having a tough time serving up all the usage. But it is an iterative improvement on the model that we use every single day. So it's a nice upgrade. We'll take it. It's not any more expensive. I'm looking forward to using Mythos or a Mythos-like model so we really get that like step function improvement. But for now, 4.7 is a great incremental improvement. I think we're probably going to continue to see a lot of these incremental improvements that just kind of increase certain things here and there, but play around with it, see what you think. And that's mostly Opus 4.7, the update.
The craziest part about that sentence, Josh, is this was the fourth product release that Anthropic released this week. They had three completely other different products and features, which we're going to get into now. One of them, it's this new feature called routines in Claude Code. Now, typically, when you're building an app or when you're coding something up, there are a bunch of other tasks that are separate from the main code development itself. And some of these tasks are kind of you wish you could automate these things. They're kind of tasks that you need to run kind of like every now and then to check the damn thing. And it would be cool if you could just automate those things. There is something that exists in the world today called cron jobs. You can kind of like design specific tasks or routines that kind of like run the thing over and over again. And you could achieve something similar like this in Claude Code. But with this new feature, routines, you can now create a routine or create a design of a task that you want to loop over and over again. But the best part is you can run it completely offline. So with your laptop or computer shut down, it runs completely on Anthropic's version of the cloud. So you could be asleep at 2 a.m., you don't need to wake up, and these jobs and tasks now autonomously work for you. The benefit of this is you could go to bed with a code base that is being built by Claude Code, your computer shuts down, you're still asleep, and it's already running security evaluations, security tests, and you wake up to a fresh new repo with a bunch of proposed fixes, and you just click approve or deny. And so it just makes you incredibly productive. You're like working like a full 9-to-5 job whilst you're asleep.
Yeah, and this removes the need to buy something like a Mac Mini or an always-on machine, which I really love. I think there's been this craze to getting machines and purchasing all these things that can stay online so that your claw features can go off and use them anytime. This, you can just set it and forget it, let it go run in the background. It'll run on their servers, on their time. And then you wake up and you have whatever you set the task to do throughout the course of the night or throughout the course of the day. And it is that persistent computing that can always be doing tasks for you that I think is really valuable. And the market seems to like this along with all of the other features that they've been releasing because the valuation is skyrocketing. I mean, it's up to $850 billion of valuation. If I'm not mistaken, that's puts them neck and neck with OpenAI.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out that OpenAI is at $900 billion. And the reason why that's significant is Anthropic has been kind of behind on the valuations for a while now. And a while within the realm of like the AI sense was 3 months ago. 3 months ago, they were valued at around $300 billion. And now they've already jumped up to $850. Now, OpenAI's IPO is rumored to be around $1.1 to $1.2 trillion. Anthropic is not too far behind. I think a lot of this is spurred from their Mythos preview launch, which kind of like ruffled a bunch of feathers and pushed their valuation up. I was actually chatting to Josh before we started recording, and I was out with dinner, and a friend of a friend of a friend who runs a fund had just purchased $100 million at a $750 billion valuation from secondary shares from employees. So the market is incredibly hot. This news isn't just rumors or fake. We're seeing this through secondary share sales, through employees, and also through like open markets that people have created, like tokenized versions of Anthropic shares. It's just an extremely hot market right now. We have three big IPOs coming up. We've got the SpaceX IPO, we've got the OpenAI IPO, and then we have the Anthropic IPO, and they have caught up massively.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of money that is going public over the next 12 to 18 months. And I don't know what type of impact it's going to have on the market, but man, things are up only and quick. Now, for the remaining changes this week that came out of Claude, we have a couple. One is the redesign of Claude Code and just the desktop app in general. I think everyone is fighting for this all-in-one desktop application. They're trying to put all of the functionality under one roof. Currently, OpenAI has like Codex, and they have Sora, and they have the ChatGPT app, and there's a whole bunch of different things. Claude has pressed them all into one, and they redesigned it this week. So now there's a few different tabs. The Claude Code feature in particular works much better. That was a nice just kind of user interface improvement. I think the next natural state would just be to remove co-work and code and just make it all one thing. I just shouldn't have to sift through different modes. I just want it to know what I want, to do the things. I suspect that's what's coming next. They also released a new Claude in Word plan, which is not so great for Microsoft, I could imagine.
Yeah, I think the plan that Anthropic is executing right now, or the strategy, is get Claude into as many people's hands as they can, and it's not primarily going to be through an Anthropic or Claude subscription. So one way that they do this is they've partnered pretty strongly with Microsoft, which is weird because Microsoft usually has a very strong alignment with OpenAI and ChatGPT. They own about 27% of OpenAI. But now 3 of Microsoft's major AI products released in the last 3 weeks are powered by Claude. They have Microsoft Cowork, so they didn't even change the name. It's powered by Claude Cowork. And now they have this new integration where the entire Microsoft suite of programs, so PowerPoint, Excel, Word, now have Claude natively baked into it, which begs the question, how has Microsoft's AI product Copilot, who is designed to do the exact same thing, how are they beaten to the punch by Claude themselves? And it's a better product. If you look at this demo, if you actually test out the thing, if you speak to Copilot users, their response is, wow, Claude is a better product. The reason why is it maintains the context of your entire conversation, which Copilot hasn't been able to achieve off. So for a while now, Satya and Microsoft have been pushing away from ChatGPT, and maybe it's just because they have a better product. I don't really understand why they're taking a more tool-agnostic approach.
Yeah, I was going to ask, isn't this the Microsoft that owns half of ChatGPT and OpenAI?
Yep.
That has access to all the code base.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
And has billions of dollars to build their own AI, and yet for some reason are using Claude and Anthropic's model. So interesting. If you use Word, this is a huge win for you. So we just mentioned how Anthropic has reached an $850 billion valuation. This new company, or this old company, I should say, has had a similar trajectory, although a little bit more unhinged. If you are chronically online, you probably saw the news that Allbirds, the shoe company, is pivoting to AI, and the market loved it. The stock went up 850% in a single day. It was unbelievable. And the timeline is really funny, right? It's like they IPO'd in 2021 at a $4 billion valuation. This was the biggest company in Silicon Valley. Everyone was wearing the world's most comfortable shoes. I owned a pair. They were made of wool. They were really great. Turns out people don't really care that much about wool shoes. The stock lost 99.5% of its value over the next 4 years. They closed every retail store, which is a shame because they had a nice one over here in Manhattan, and I actually went there. They sold the entire brand for $39 million and then rebranded to Newbird AI. So Allbirds is becoming Newbirds. They're using, get this, $50 million. That's million with an M, not a B or a T. That is million, to buy GPUs and compete with AWS. And the market loved it. It's like a meme stock. It went from like $3 to $23. It had the largest single day gain in company history and wiped out, I don't know, maybe like 5% of its 99.5% loss. But man, it's just a testament to how frothy the market really is, because a company can announce a pivot and just go absolutely nuclear. It's just an interesting story on the frothiness of the market currently.
There's a famous saying that goes, you may not know you're in a bubble, but there will be signs. This might be a pretty strong sign. I don't know what to say about this. I never liked the shoes. Maybe that's a hot take, and I don't like this angle that they're taking right now. $50 million is the salary that Zuckerberg is paying one single AI researcher to work at Meta and on his entire lab. So it's not going to make much of a splash in the ocean, but I appreciate the sentiment and an effort. It seems like it's a bit of a stretch. I don't know how many GPUs they're going to be able to buy with that money, maybe 10. And I don't know if they even have the expertise to be able to spin those up. So I don't know who's managing this, but it's a smart marketing move and good for whoever bought the stock. Like, it's interesting. When we were chatting about this pre-recording yesterday's episode, Josh and I were like, wow, it's up 200%. That's crazy. And then by the time we finished recording the episode, what was it, like 25 minutes later, it was at 800%. So maybe I'm the idiot here, but just a wild, wild story. But there was someone that predicted this well before its time. Brian Michael F. Goes, if Allbirds just pivots to being an LLM, it could get its $4 billion valuation back. This was back in March 30th. So he is like the Lisan Al-Gaib. He knew everything that was going on. And yeah, the stock is down around 30% today. We're using Perplexity Computer to show this here. It's a nice little feed, which still gives it a huge marginal increase. I think the market cap is at like almost $100 million. So that's still like a 4.5x. Pretty insane.
Yeah, this is like a joke. This is not even a serious. It's unbelievable that this happened, and I think it's a testament to maybe the lack of seriousness right now. It's like everything is going up. We don't care, and I do feel that frothy nature. I find this whole story really interesting, but we do have a more interesting story. This is from our good friend Leopold Aschenbrenner, who last time we spoke about him, I think he was 24. He's 25 now. Happy birthday, Leopold! Since then, he's also turned another couple $1 billion in profit that we haven't discussed. So we need to have a brief update because this dude is on a roll. Leopold, for those who aren't familiar, famously created the Situational Awareness Fund, which is designed exclusively to invest in kind of frontier AI technology companies. And my God, it is doing so well to the point that not only is it doing like hostile takeovers of companies, but now is leading funding rounds in them as well. And they are up so much money. This guy's crushing it.
Okay, so some quick context. At 23 years old, he starts a fund and raises a humble, very modest $250 million. In less than a year, he turns that into $1.5 billion. And at the end of last year, so we're talking December 31st, he's holding around $2.2 billion in the fund. So that's a huge markup. Any investor would be super happy. But he does something that no one expects. He takes major positions in a few core stocks. And I have it listed over here. He takes a massive, almost $900 million position in this company called Bloom Energy, which not many people outside of like the AI sphere knew about back then, which is a fuel cell company. Basically, you can take portable fuel cells and power AI data centers. AI data centers are very hot right now, but they need energy. Bloom Energy solves that. And then he took a massive additional $300 million position on CoreWeave. Now, fast forward to today, Bloom Energy had a crazy week. Their stock is up 48% as I am speaking right now, which means that his original position is up $1.2 billion. That's a $1.2 billion return on his original investment in 3.5 months. Total $2 billion position from $885 million. Absolutely insane. And the reason why is Bloom Energy is signing deals left, right, and center. But it's not only that. I looked at his SanDisk position, Josh. Why did I look at his SanDisk position? SanDisk is already up massively. He decided to take a $250 million position at the end of last year. That is now worth almost $1 billion, but I wish that was the end. The final stock that he was invested in was this little stock over here called CoreWeave, which is up, I believe, around 25% as we're talking right now, which means that he's up another couple hundreds of $1 million. The point is, Leopold is absolutely killing it. And the worst part is, if you wanted the blueprint as to what he's investing in, he wrote us a 64-page essay titled Situational Awareness, the name of his fund that was released about 2 years ago now, and it's held true until now. It's pretty amazing.
And we also published an update on the portfolio, a month or two ago? And if you did follow along with that, chances are you're probably up a good amount right now. I mean, SanDisk, as an example, is the largest single gainer of the year for 2025 and 2026. there has been no single better stock. So Leopold's on it. Congratulations on the success. If you have been copy trading him, congratulations on your success. And if not, I might have to suggest that maybe you try it. Not financial advice, as always, but interesting nonetheless. Now, we have some more information this week coming from the person who is at the top of the ladder, which is Jensen Huang, the guy who creates all of these GPUs. He was on Marrakesh recently and had some interesting choice words to say about China and many other things, but China in particular. This was the clip that went viral about him getting a little defensive. And the episode just came out. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. So what is he going on about here?
Yeah, so it's an amazing episode. Let's start with this particular segment before we get into the other takeaways. So basically, I'm going to play the clip in a second. Dwarkesh asks him a very specific question, which is, NVIDIA is selling a lot of GPUs to our adversary, China. In doing so, you're going to empower China to build super intelligent weapons, which may be used against the US. An example might be Claude Mythos, which can be used as a cybersecurity attack tool. Jensen's response isn't what you might think. His response is not only we should align with China because they have a bunch of researchers and it's good to foster an AI community. He doesn't recognize them as an adversary in that sense. But two, he got incredibly defensive, saying, I don't align with that loser energy. Let me play this episode.
You're not talking to somebody who woke up a loser.
It's getting defensive.
Loser attitude, that loser premise makes no sense to me. We're not a car. We are not a car. The fact that I can buy this car brand one day and use another car brand another day, easy. Computing is not like that. There's a reason why the x86 still exists. There's a reason why ARM is so sticky. These ecosystems are hard to replace. It costs an enormous amount of time and energy, and most people don't want to do it. And so it's our job to continue to nurture that ecosystem, to keep advancing the technology so that we could compete in the marketplace. Conceding a marketplace based on the premise you described, I simply can't acknowledge that. It makes no sense because I don't think the United States is a loser. Our industry is not a loser. And that losing proposition, that losing mindset makes no sense to me.
You heard it from him himself. We are not a car. The point he goes on to make is you can't compare GPUs to switching out a car to a different model. Like it's just leisurely, right? With GPUs, you need a very specific type of machine, and NVIDIA has the machines to provide it. He's basically talking his book. And the point that he's kind of skirting is he wants to sell more GPUs to China because he's going to make billions of dollars from it. He makes a point later on in the episode that China has the most compute and energy in the world. So what is the substrate that uses that compute? GPUs, obviously, and he wants to be their biggest seller. He kind of explains that, like, they have 50% of AI researchers and they have a good attitude towards building good AI models, but really he just wants to make a buck.
Yeah, I liked the idea that we would sell them GPUs, but they were the previous version or they're the nerfed down versions of them. So there was some angle there. I could see the arguments for both. It's an interesting conversation. I will be watching that conversation. But also, the United States seems to be panicking.
Yes.
And perhaps not about this, but they are certainly panicking about the speed in which AI is improving. I'm not even sure they know that China's getting these chips yet. But they apparently have been summoned to discuss Mythos, the Anthropic model that is so powerful that it is not being released to the public. That one. It seems as if there's been some pretty serious closed-door discussions about how to deal with this technology in the government just in the last week.
Yeah, so some important context here. Anthropic went from being the kind of weird kid to being the super popular kid when Claude Code kind of rose to fame, to then becoming the most hated person or hated company by the government because they refused to hand over their model and reins to be used in war. And so they got blacklisted. Now the government seems to be kind of backstepping here after they realize that the next model that Claude, or rather Anthropic, is about to release is super powerful and probably something that they want to have under their control. So two things have happened. One, Secretary Bessent and Jerome Powell, Fed chair, have gathered all banking heads, so from Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, etc., to discuss the potential of this new model and to prepare defensive tactics against people that might use this model against them. So they need to secure data, accounts, so that money isn't stolen, all that kind of stuff. So it's a real kind of nation level threat or global level threat. Number two, they've re-engaged conversations with Anthropic themselves. So the company that they're blacklisted, they've now started conversations again with to try and figure out how they can work together. So my bet is, and I tweeted about this when the Pentagon stuff was going down, I was like, this is going to be a nothing burger in about 3 months from now when they realize that they do need to be aligned with Anthropic. Now, this could go two ways. One, politically correct, so Anthropic signs a deal and they just kind of shake hands. Or two, in a more extreme way, the government might even like take the steps towards nationalizing it if Anthropic refuses to help them. So I don't know which way this is going to go, but it proves to us that Mythos is very real and it is the best marketing campaign for Anthropic that they could have ever asked for.
Yeah, these things are getting powerful and they're only going to be getting more powerful. And as that power dynamic shifts from the government to this private industry, I think we're going to see a lot of conflicting opinions and issues that will arise. There is a random topic that I want to cover briefly just because I thought it was interesting. This is like the fun part of the show we'll get into. If you remember, there is a mafia known as the PayPal Mafia, where everyone who was the founder of PayPal has gone on to create all these amazing companies. A similar phenomenon is happening at SpaceX, where as SpaceX is going public, a lot of the engineers who worked under Elon, who did really hard and difficult engineering challenges, they're rich, they're leaving, they're doing passion projects. And we got one of the first passion projects this week, which is called Vital Life. And I just found it really interesting. I want to share briefly because it is a 25-pound cooler looking machine that is able to process and clean water from anywhere in the world, including oceans. It does so using this really cool technology in a box that is 50 times smaller than the average one by using a lot of the really interesting technology around reverse osmosis and creating these different sensor and pressure feeds that it allows it to clean and purify water anywhere in the world. So it's really amazing. You have a hose, you hook it into any water source, and it cleans it for $850. I just thought if you are like a camper, if you are a fisherman, if you are ever in need of water, they have kind of commoditized it and turned it into a tiny little cooler. And it was just an interesting version one of what I'm hopeful the SpaceX Mafia is going to begin releasing, which is just passion projects, man. SpaceX is going at a $2 trillion valuation. They're collecting a lot of that. They get to make cool things with it. This one I just thought was pretty interesting.
Awesome. And yeah, I have a fun story that I want to share to round this episode up. This one is a little dystopian. So a group of researchers in Korea has built a on and off switch for your genes, which they can operate from outside of your body using the electromagnetic pulse that comes out of your electrical socket that you're charging your phone or iPad.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right now. This is pretty insane. So the analogy is as follows. If you imagine a garage door, right? You can use a remote to open it up and to close it down, right? You have similar channels in your cells where you can kind of send this calcium ion, right? Calcium ions kind of open the gate or close the gate. And the calcium ions can influence your genes. It could turn the genes on and it could turn the genes off. What they realized is if they created an engineered protein, I think it's called like ACBYB or something like that, and implant it near the gene that they want to switch on and off, they could just put you in an electromagnetic field, 60 megawatts to be specific, which is exactly the thing that comes out of your socket, right? So it's surrounding you right now. They could trigger a calcium channel to open up and switch on that gene, and then close the channel to close the gene. Now, you might think, oh my God, I can get remotely attacked and I could like change my personality or they could like affect my aging process. That's exactly what they did with the mice, at least in the study. So they were able to reverse aging or halt aging in these mice using 3 of the Nakamoto genes. Nakamoto genes are like one of the famous set of genes that can like trigger stem cell reversal. They were able to do that completely remotely. So I don't know what to think of this, except I am scared and concerned.
Well, it's good to know that like all of the, all the conspiracy theorists that say that they're implanting chips in us, plausibly true now. Maybe they just haven't turned it on. They just got to activate the right electricity field and change us up however you want. Yeah. It is fascinating, though. I think it's a testament to how weird the world of biology is going to get. As we kind of evolve and progress through this AI intelligence phase, I think one of the more interesting industries is going to be biology because we really understand so little about the human body and the nature of how different things interact with us, and unlocking those things and being able to actually engage with our beings in a way that we've never been able to before is something that's really exciting. This is awesome research and development. We keep seeing more and more of it coming at an increasing really rapid rate. So I'm excited to continue to iterate, see where that comes. Maybe just get like, if wherever we want to change ourselves, you just kind of push a button on your screen and it'll just adjust the magnetic field around your body and switch over those genes. Who knows? It's going to be weird and wild, but that is all of the updates for this week. I think we've covered everything. If you've made it through all 4 episodes, you are fully in the know of everything you need to. On this week in the world of frontier technology, AI, all of it. I hope you enjoyed the episode. before we send you off for the weekend, we have a couple asks. One is to subscribe to the newsletter. We post on Substack twice a week. Share it with your friends. Like and comment on the video if you're watching it on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe if you are listening. Leaving a 5-star review helps a lot. You just any final thoughts for the weekend? What are we sending everyone on? What are you thinking about this weekend?
The top of mind one is, why didn't I copy trade Leopold when I reported on it 2 months ago? And then the second thing is, I should have bought and owned Allbirds stock simply because the market is crazier than I could have ever have thought rational. So it's a lesson I've learned over and over again through my trading experience, and I keep being forced to learn the same lesson whilst not making money, Josh. So I'm thinking, why am I poor? No, I'm poor. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think I could resonate with that one too. I also did not participate. I hope someone listening did. Take some of our advice here and go follow these amazing traders.
Yeah.
So I hope, I'm wishing everyone a profitable weekend. And we'll see you guys on the other side with an episode next week.
See you guys.